The Genesis 6 narrative states that the Nephilim are on the earth in those days and also afterwards. If that's true, can we find evidence that corroborates this? I'm L.A. Marzulli. Join me as we go on the trail of a Nephilim. There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim looking for truth. Our lead story today comes from the Epoch Times. Archaeologists find stone tools, carbon dating at America's Stonehenge from 1000 to 4000 BC. So who built it? I'll be reading the article right here and commenting on it. This is a special report. We'll get into that and so much more. But first, a word from our sponsor, BioTrust. Thick skin is for more than just protecting you against hurtful words. It also helps keep you looking young because aging turns our skin from thick and supple to thin and less elastic. Help fight wrinkles and sagging skin with multi-collagen. Multi-collagen helps improve skin texture, hydration, and skin elasticity. It's made with the top 5 most critical research types of collagen that support your skin against wrinkles and sagging skin. Folks, get a bag for 50% off, plus receive several free bonuses by going to www.healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com, or by simply clicking the link down below. So I'm going to read this, and as I come to places that I think is sort of a managed agenda or is really a disingenuous remark, I will comment on it. I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. All right. Studying the origins of the aptly named Mystery Hill megalith, also known as America's Stonehenge, whets one's curiosity but does not satisfy. Unless it is satisfied by the excitement of confounding the mystery alone. The site in North Hampshire, so right off the bat, in my opinion, that's a negative, isn't it? Right? I mean, you could have said something like this. Studying the origins of the aptly named Mystery Hill, also known as America's Stonehenge, whets one's curiosity. These enigmatic structures which cover the site, including astronomical alignments, confound the sincere seeker of truth. They could have said something like that, right? But no. Okay, let's move on. The site in North Salem, New Hampshire includes stone monoliths and chambers spread across 30 acres. The stones are said to have complex astronomical alignments. A 4.5 stone slab that seems to be the focal point of a site may have served as an altar for sacrifice. It is grooved with a channel for draining possibly the blood of a victim. Let's show you a shot of that real quick. So that's the summer solstice sunrise right there, right over the stone. And let me get to the chamber here. And there is the slab right there. Now that was it before it was excavated. See the stone slab? So you can see that the dirt is like right up to the top. So that's what it looks like after the excavation. This is what it looks like now, pretty much. And that's Robert Stone, who bought the place way back when. So let's move right along with this, please. Thank you. A variety of characteristics have fueled the theory that America's Stonehenge was built by Europeans as long as 2000 BC, thousands of years before the first evidence of Viking settlements in North America. Archaeologists are divided. Some say evidence is lacking to support this theory and that the site may have been constructed in relatively recent times. Now, I get this is an article, but, you know, is there anything that they're citing here that would lead us to believe that it was built in recent times? Or is the evidence, to the preponderance of evidence, pointing to ancient construction? In my opinion, it is the latter, but let's move on. Many similar sites are found on the stretch from Maine to Connecticut, though none are expansive as Mystery Hill or America's Stonehenge. Here's a look at the site's characteristics and the views of various experts. Glyphs seem to suggest an archaic Irish language, though any deciphering of the glyphs has been controversial. It seems that the astronomical alignments at the megaliths mark cross-quarter holidays. These holidays are only celebrated by the Celts, according to astronomer Alan Hill. Some have compared the megaliths to Stonehenge. Carbon-14 dating results coincide with the date of major immigration by the Celts, according to a book by David Gausward and Robert Stone. Robert Stone was the guy, that's Dennis's father, who bought the site way back when. The Mystery Hill story from Ice Age to Stone Age. The Stone family bought the site in the 1950s and opened it to the public viewing and further research. Gosford and Stone continue. The Celtiberians, Celtic-speaking people of the Iberian Peninsula, interacted with the Carthaginians, a nationally almost certain to have the skill to cross the Atlantic. However, there is not of the ornamentation on these stones that would be indicative of the Celts. So let me just talk about that a little bit. First of all, and we show this in the film, Thor Heyerdahl proved that you could take a papyrus boat, and it's in our film, America's Stonehenge, number 4 and number 5 in our On the Trail of the Nephilim series. We spent a lot of time there. And I want to thank Dennis Stone for opening up the archives and giving us incredible photographs and footage and interviews and the whole 9 yards. But Thor Heyerdahl proved without a doubt that you could build a papyrus boat. You could sail from the Straits of Gibraltar without a map, without a compass, and guess where you wind up? On the island of Barbados. So people could have come to the New World very, very easily. You don't need a compass, you don't need a map. The trade winds will blow you right to the island of Barbados. And then you just go up the coast and explore and wind up at America's Stonehenge. Or you could have come over from Greenland, but let's continue. Archaeologists have found Native American artifacts on the site that are more than 1,000 years old. That doesn't surprise me at all. The use of stone tools show workmanship similar to that employed by Native Americans. Glyphs of the Celts. Ogham is an Irish script used in the 5th or 6th centuries that consists of cross hatches. Glyphs that may be Ogham are said to have been found on the stones. Karen Wright, who wrote an article for Discovery magazine in 1998, after visiting Mystery Hill, described what she felt to be dubious deciphering. Various authors have made interpretations, consulting languages from Ogham to Russian. The most Baroque interpretation, a translation based on Iberian Punic, was ascribed to 3 evenly spaced parallel grooves in a rust-colored cast. In Baal, on behalf of the Canaanites, this is dedicated. Read the inscription, read the translation. This, I decided, was the archaeological equivalent of the scene from Lassie in which the dog barks once and Jimmy is given to understand that the leg of a 6-year-old girl named Sally has been trapped under a fallen tree 30 yards north of the falls on Coldwater Creek near the old mine shaft. And oh, by the way, she's diabetic, so bring some insulin. You realize how absolutely disparaging that remark is. Let's go to the Baal stone right here. So let me get this straight. So this woman who writes this hit piece, Karen Wright, who wrote an article for Discovery magazine, and she merely dismisses this, but she doesn't do the backstory. She doesn't tell us that Professor Barry Fell of Harvard University came out to the site when he heard about the inscription on the stone. The stone was found buried in about 1 foot to 18 inches of soil in a collapsed chamber at America's Stonehenge. It had been laying there for perhaps thousands and thousands of years. No one could decipher it. They realized that, wow, that looks like writing here, but no one could decipher it. So it lay in the museum for 11 years till Professor Fell came out and examined this and said, that looks like Iberian Punic. I think I can translate it. So when I got there, and this is all in the film, we show it. And it was like, wait a minute, say that again, Kelsey? To Baal of the Canaanites and dedication, I about fell out of my chair. This is, in my opinion, Nephilim architecture, fallen angel technology. What is a stone that's dedicated to Baal doing in New Hampshire? It does in fact, rewrite history. But people like Karen Wright really don't like that. And so she writes a disparaging remark, talking about Lassie. But she doesn't address Professor Fell's work, does she? Not a word. Not a word. She just comes off with this little disparaging remark like, oh, this is like, Lassie and Timmy and the whole 9 yards. Excuse me, with all due respect, it's not. And, Mr. Fell is no longer here to defend himself. How many papers has he written? Why don't you Google that up and see that this man is incredibly erudite, well-educated, spoke and deciphered many languages, and he has no Nephilim dog in the hunt. I do. Which is why when I read the inscription, when Kelsey Stone told me what the inscription said, I about fell out of my chair. What is that doing in New Hampshire? In 1969, archaeologist James Woodall unearthed stone tools at the site, along with charcoal flakes that could be carbon dated. The dating showed the tool work was around 1000 BC. So that's an ancient date, isn't it? Astrological alignments concur. Astronomer Dr. Lewis Winkler, the principal site scientist, found the position of some stones align with where the stars and other celestial objects would have been about 2,000 years ago. He has also done radiocarbon and laser dating to support a Bronze Age origin of 2000 BC. So what's wrong with that? Because that does rewrite history. If there are alignments here, what is going on? Anthropologist Bob Goodby of the New Hampshire Archaeological Society said that the alignments are coincidental. What proof does he offer? In fact, and I want to get into that. Hold on, give me a second here. Here are the alignments. You can see it right here. So that's the center point right there. That's the center of the henge of America's Stonehenge right there. And when you go out to the standing stones, so you've got a focal point, and you move out to these stones which are around the area, you can see there's an aerial shot, drone shot. You can plainly see this like a starburst pattern coming out from the site, showing the connectivity. So when you go from the stone, which is right here, I believe this is the summer solstice setting of the sun, right over this particular stone. So this is, in my opinion, the greatest archaeological discovery of the 21st century. And yet, Bob Goodby of New Hampshire just calls this coincidental. I would challenge Mr. Goodby to look at this site again, go on Google Earth and disprove it. Offer us something other than saying it's coincidental. How can it possibly be coincidental when you start from the center of the henge, which is right here, and you draw a line on Google Earth? So you've got 2 points, and you draw that line on Google Earth, and then you continue that line from the site right there in New Hampshire. You can see it, and you go out over the Atlantic Ocean, and you go by the island of Newfoundland, as you can see, and you find yourself eventually going through southern Ireland, or going through Ireland. And then you're in southern England, and you say to yourself, gee, I wonder, this is what Kelsey Stone did, I wonder how close the line comes to Stonehenge, England. And what you discover is that this line bisects the two trilithons there and there. Now, if that's coincidence, I'll eat my hat. It's not coincidence, Mr. Goodby. It's absolutely deliberate. And what blows people like you, with all due respect, out of the water is it doesn't fit your paradigm. It doesn't fit your worldview. You can't answer how this was done 4,000 years ago. Because the only way you can do this, you need to know the circumference of the Earth. You need to be able to do advanced geometry. You've got to be in the air. You've got to know how to triangulate. And all of that was not available 4,000 years ago. Could we do it today? Of course we could. We have satellites and we have advanced geometry. But you go back 4,000 years ago, and this is truly enigmatic. What makes it even more astounding, there's another shot of it. You can see the line, plainly the line going through the center trilithons there. And once again, this is all from our film. But I want to go back here, and I want to show you something here, because this is absolutely incredible. That's the stone. So there are other stones that are set. And once the Stone family realized the connectivity between the center point of a site and where the sun goes down during the summer solstice, the longest days of the year, they began to cut and brush the area, which you can see here. They began to cut through to the other stones so they have a line of sight. Then they went on Google Earth, and guess what they discovered? That these lines correspond to Chaco Canyon, Teotihuacan, Mexico, Machu Picchu, the pyramids out in the Canary Islands, Stonehenge, England, and of course the Great Pyramid of Giza. I'm going to show you a clip here. I think you'll find this interesting. This is from our film. Site in New Hampshire that may date back 4,000 years. It is called America's Stonehenge. There are precise alignments of standing stones which reflect the solstices and equinoxes. There is also a controversial stone table which may have been used as an altar for human sacrifice. The site is built on an 18-and-a-half-year lunar cycle like that of Stonehenge, England, and also the Great Circle Mound and the Octagon Mound complex in Ohio. And America's Stonehenge, massive stones were fitted together to create this mysterious site, but whoever built it seemingly abandoned it. You will see just how incredible this site is as we reveal what appears to be a deliberate and orchestrated relationship to Stonehenge, England, as well as other megalithic sites around the globe. Journey with us as we explore America's Stonehenge. We are they who fled from the face of Joshua, the robber, the son of Nun. What's that doing there? That stele was on the north coast of Africa. We know that there was a diaspora of the NEPHILIM tribes about 3,500 years ago when Joshua and Caleb pressed the conquest of the Holy Land. Is it really that far-fetched to think that these supernatural entities, the NEPHILIM, crossed the Atlantic and set up shop where? At America's Stonehenge, to Baal of the Canaanites in dedication. I would challenge the skeptics to go back and read Professor Barry Feld's paper and rebut that, instead of just trying to tell us that it's like Lassie Come Home or that the alignments are just coincidental. With all due respect, they are not. Then this anthropologist says, with so much stone around, it wouldn't be that difficult to find some alignments that correspond to celestial things. Excuse me, sir, with all due respect, why not look at what Kelsey Stone discovered on Google Earth? And then the Stone family went to the other stone markers, the other standing stones around the site, and they wound up pointing to Chaco Canyon, Machu Picchu, Teotihuacan, the Canary Islands, the pyramids there, and other places. Why not start there? Because if Kelsey Stone is correct, that is, in my opinion, the greatest archaeological discovery of the 21st century. And as an anthropologist, you should be absolutely on the edge of your seat. And I've had other people, I've had surveyors look at this and do exactly the same thing, and they're completely blown away by what they see. Something is going on. There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated by the peoples of the world. Could be told Boston University publication At the Bridge, this isn't the only coincidence cited by the critics of ancient European origin theory. Not the only one cited as a little too coincidental by supporters of the theory. For example, critic Richard I guess it's pronounced Boisvert, New Hampshire's deputy state archaeologist, admitted the structures resemble ancient European megalithic structures, but that it's just a coincidence. So, but we've got connectivity, don't we? We know that there's the Baal stone that's there. We know that when you draw a line from the center of the henge out to the summer solstice stone, right, it bifurcates literally the two trilithons at Stonehenge, England. And then we know the other connectivity where the lines point to other places on the site. How is that just a coincidence? Why not look at the evidence and say, wow, this is pretty amazing? But they don't do that because they say things like, he told Discovery that it's a case of the same form fitting the same function. What does that mean? Why not look at the evidence and tell us where it's going wrong? They don't do that. They just say, oh, it's Lassie Come Home. And with a wave of their hand, they dismiss it. Nonsense. The people of the world have a right to know the truth. The people of the world have a right to know what the truth is. if there are astrological alignments, if there's archaeoastronomy present at the site, we want to know. It seems to be very clear cut to me when I've been on the site talking to Kelsey, talking to Dennis. It's very straight ahead. We demonstrate all this in our films. Anyway, folks, it just goes on, and it is what it is. I just want to run through some of these pictures and talk about them real quick. This is all in our number 4 and number 5 of On the Trail of a Nephilim, American Stonehenge. You can go to lamarzulli.net and order that, or if you want to stream it, streaming.lamarzulli.net. Our producer, John Adam Hicks, will put those up on so you can see it right now. There it is, streaming.lamarzulli.net, and of course, lamarzulli.net. So look at this. This is what they discovered. Once Kelsey figured out that, wow, there was an they knew about the summer solstice sunrise and sunset. They knew about that, okay? But they had no idea of the correlation between their site and Stonehenge, England, until Kelsey Stone discovered it, which in my opinion, although accidental, is still the greatest discovery, archaeological discovery of the 21st century. So now we know it goes to Chaco Canyon, Teotihuacan, Mexico, Machu Picchu, the pyramids in the Canary Islands, Stonehenge, England, and of course the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is, and that's why Fritz Zimmermann came up with this word, the axis mundi, the center of the world. Something's going on here. This site was that important because it was built in advance of Chaco Canyon. It was built in advance of Teotihuacan, Mexico. Something is happening here. Any archaeologist worth his salt, in my opinion, would be all over this thing to either debunk it once and for all or to go, oh my gosh, how did they do this? The only way you can do it is to know the circumference of the earth, that the earth is a sphere, because you can't take a straight line and go from America Stonehenge to Stonehenge, England. You've got to know the circumference of the earth. You've got to know advanced geometry. You have to be able to triangulate the positions. You have to be in the air. Who is the prince of the power of the air? So that's the sign Mystery Hill, which shows you where it is. Once again, there's the starburst pattern showing all the connectivity to other sites on the globe. That's the summer solstice sunrise. This stone here weighs about 3 tons. Whoever did this, extremely deliberate. Notice the difference? One's for the sunrise, one's for the sunset. This is years ago with the stone chambers. Give you an idea. The site was really overgrown, and the Stone family reclaimed it. And there's what we've talked about already. That is the sacrificial altar, in my opinion. There is a carving that Dennis showed us. It's in the film. It shows a man who seems to be bound to this stone as a sacrifice. And of course, I believe that that's what happened here. This is William Golden, circa 1943. Pretty amazing. Once again, Robertson, I want to show you something here. So we see the sacrificial table. Directly above it and behind it, there's like a bed of moss or grass. And it's growing on some sort of material which is absolutely waterproof. Inside, behind that chamber, we've seen this before. We've seen it on the island of Malta. We've seen it in the island of Sardinia. There's a chamber which amplifies a voice which would have come out from underneath the table, number one. Number two, in that chamber is an area for a person to lay down, exactly like we see on the island of Sardinia. Coincidence? Maybe, but I think not. I think something else is going on here. I would posit that the same people who built the Tomb of the Giants wound up over here. Some of them, and may have been instrumental in building this site also at America Stonehenge. Another site of another good shot of a sacrificial table. That's what it looks like pretty much today. Someone laying on it to give you the idea. So if a person is sacrificed, those rivets around those channels that are cut in the stone, the blood is collected at the bottom. one of the things that I've asked Dennis to do would bring someone out and see if we can scrape the stone and see if it does show the presence of human blood. Once again, to Baal of the Canaanites in dedication. To Baal of the Canaanites in dedication, written in Iberian Punic. And instead of telling us that this is Lassie come home, show us where Mr. Fell is going wrong. There's a shot of the hidden chamber, the oracle chamber, right behind the sacrificial chamber. I believe this is the collapsed chamber. I could be wrong on that. We are they who fled before the face of Joshua the robber, the son of Nun. That stele recorded in the history of wars by Justinian. Procopius actually found it. So what's that doing there? We are they. There was a diaspora of giants, which does rewrite history. They came over here. The builders of the mounds, in my opinion, were not Native American, but I digress. There's another shot. And once again, this shows the correlation between all the standing stones around the site and to different sites globally. And we've already gone through this, so I won't belabor the point. The connectivity between the site and America, Stonehenge. What are you waiting for? It's all in America, Stonehenge. The Canaanite connection, I think we make our case pretty much conclusively. You can check that out. You can also go to lamarzulli.net or streaming.lamarzulli.net. Don't forget the coming UFO invasion. I will be back tomorrow with a very special presentation on our weekly UFO update. I think you'll find that interesting. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button below. We thank you for your support. Once again, we are moving our entire shipping operation from Oklahoma back to California. If you'd like to contribute to that financially, that would be really cool. For those of you who've got extra money and it's the end of year and want a tax write-off, check us out. Go to lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. Make your check out to the Church Alliance, and we will use that money to transport. It's about a 30-foot U-Haul, and we've got guys loading and guys unloading and guys driving, so it's a whole production. But we need to do that and bring it back to California. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli, is on the trail of the Nephilim.
Something very dark and disturbing is happening. It is a global phenomenon that knows no boundaries and adheres to no cultural mores. And the ones who are engaged in this nefarious activity do so with impunity. People are being taken against their will. In the cover of darkness, in the dead of night, they are subjected to bizarre examinations that are often sexual in nature. These people are terrified, violated, confused, and with no place to turn to, as who would believe them? This is their story.